Hello, everybody. Come on in, take a seat. We are continuing our series. This is episode 9 on the Dan Markel case. For those of you who don't know who Dan is, it's a picture of him and his two little boys. Dan was born October 9th, 1972. He was a Canadian-born attorney and a law professor who wrote various works on retribution in criminal law and sentencing, and he did a focus on the role of punishment in the criminal justice system. He earned a JD degree from Harvard University in 2001, and after working as a law clerk to a federal judge and as an associate at a law firm, he joined the faculty of Florida State University. He joined there in 2005 and was still working there in July 18th, 2014, when he was hit with a pew-pew in the head. He was unalived in Tallahassee, Florida in 2014, in and unalived for hire motivated by child custody issues following his divorce from Wendi Adelson. Let me show you Wendi. This is Wendi. She was a clinical law professor and child advocate, and she was also employed at Florida State University at the time of Dan's demise. 4 individuals have been convicted in his unaliving. Charlie Adelson, who is Wendi's brother and Dan's former brother-in-law, was convicted of first-degree unaliving, conspiracy to commit unaliving, and solicitation of unaliving, and sentenced to life in prison plus an additional 30 years each for the conspiracy and solicitation convictions. Okay. Then we have 3 more individuals. Sigfredo Garcia is on the far right, was found guilty of first-degree unaliving, conspiracy to commit unaliving, and sentenced to life in prison. In the middle, after a mistrial in her original trial, Catherine McBanawa was found guilty of first-degree unaliving, conspiracy to commit unaliving, and solicitation of unaliving in her retrial, and sentenced to life in prison plus 2 consecutive 30-year sentences. Louis Rivera, on the far left, pled guilty to second-degree unaliving and was sentenced to 19 years in prison. Louis Rivera was the one who spoke up and told what happened and who was involved. That's why he didn't get as big of a sentence. And then we have Donna Adelson, Wendi's mother, and Dan's former mother-in-law. She was arrested at the Miami International Airport on a warrant from Leon County. She was flying to Vietnam, a country with no extradition treaty with the U.S. Isn't that convenient, guys? Wonder why she was going there. She is charged with first-degree murder. Whoops. I'm not supposed to say that word. Conspiracy to commit unaliving and solicitation to unaliving. Her trial was originally scheduled to start in September. Now it's looking like it's going to be June of 2025 before her trial begins. Neither Wendi nor her father, Harvey Adelson, have been charged, but both have been named by prosecutors as conspirators in the unaliving of Dan Markel. I like to call this the case that keeps on giving, because we first had these 2 were on trial, Siegfried and Catherine McBanawa. Okay. And Catherine's trial was a mistrial but Sigfredo was convicted. Then they had Catherine McManus, second trial. Okay. And Louis Rivera, I think he just had a sentencing because he pleaded. He took the plea deal. And then Charlie's trial came. And just a couple of days after Charlie's trial is when Donna was captured at the airport. Right. So after her trial, makes you wonder, is Wendi going to be next? Harvey, Donna's husband, Wendi's dad. Who's going to be next here, guys, right? Who's going to be next? So what we're doing is, I think Wendi is a big key in this case. And really, yes, Charlie was her brother. Was he protecting her? I don't know. But they have enough against Mom now, too. You can't tell me Wendi didn't know anything. But that's what she claims, and we're going to listen to her testimony, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to watch Wendi. We had already started watching some in episode 8, so I want to encourage you guys, if you want to know more about this case, go back through each episode and take a look, okay? Because this case is incredible. It is incredible, guys.
As Ms. Adelson, my parents are, very angry toward him. Is that true?
Isn't
that what you said? Your parents were very angry toward Dan.
Can I read the rest of the sentence?
Sure.
So I say, my parents are very angry towards him, but even when they're around my kids, they would never say a bad word about my kid's father.
And then on page 288, line 24 through page 289, line 1, and that's going to be, yeah. Didn't you say, it's like my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else? Is that what you said?
That is what I said.
And that's because he hurt you, right?
And I was saying that in the context of talking to law enforcement for hours and hours and trying to help them figure out who might be responsible.
Right. And who did you tell them might be responsible?
Well, I told them many, many people. But are you asking about this particular moment right here?
You told them your family might be responsible.
Or potentially someone to do with a former student or his current girlfriend. I mentioned lots of people that I thought could be responsible.
Okay. And of the lots of people that could have been responsible, your family was one.
Yep.
Because they might have done this thinking it would help you. And that's what happened, right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Your family had your ex-husband killed to try to help you, didn't they?
No, that's completely untrue.
And back to the divorce, the petition where Danny is responding to your petition for the motion to relocate. Are you familiar?
Guys, please keep in mind, Wendi is very good at deflecting because she is a lawyer. Okay? So she's very good at this. It's not like your average witness on the stand, okay? You have a lawyer being questioned here. So keep that in mind.
Familiar with that filing, or do you need to take a look at it?
I need to take a look at it.
All right, it's going to be page 79 through 101, and this is back to our exhibit 56.
He has some serious bags under his eyes, does he not? Not sleeping well in
Yeah, and
prison, I
that
get,
was
or in jail.
the filing begins on page 79. I'm specifically interested in 82. And in this filing, doesn't Mr. Markel say, quote, the husband affirmatively alleges that the wife helped herself to non-marital assets, including money and stocks owned prior to marriage, as well as numerous personal non-marital belongings of the husband, such as luggage, bicycle, tennis racket, and family heirlooms. The wife has refused to return these items or to allow the husband into her home to see what other personal belongings were taken without his permission or acquiescence. So my point is, he's accusing you of theft in this paragraph.
Those are the words that are here, yes.
Yeah, and he's very adamantly objecting to your relocation, right? On page 82, it says the sole stated reason the wife seeks to relocate is so that she can be closer to her parents. Was being near your parents the sole reason that you wanted to relocate?
No,
It wasn't the sole reason stated in your petition?
it wasn't the sole reason stated in my petition, and it wasn't the sole reason that he and I talked about before I filed the motion to relocate.
Why was he so adamant and so confident that this was the real reason you wanted to be down there?
I think there's a lot of things in these pleadings that are not true. So just because it says something doesn't make it true.
Sure, but did he know that your mom was just grinding on this issue of trying to get you down there?
He would have had no idea.
He wouldn't have been, that wouldn't have been known to him?
I don't think so.
But he was accusing you in these pleadings of all kind of stuff, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's true, but hiding financial assets, failing to disclose things, kidnapping his kids in the middle of, his business trip, all those sorts of things, right?
Yes, he said lots of things.
All right. And you said a lot of things too. There's filings going both ways that are pretty venomous. Would you agree with that?
I would not agree with that.
Yours were pleasant.
I'm not saying divorce filings are pleasant, but mine were not venomous.
Okay. Did your mother, Donna Adelson, review the filing in which Dan Markel is accusing you of this theft and all this stuff?
I don't remember if she did.
What about the one where Dan Markel is asking that your mother not be permitted to have unsupervised visitation with the kids?
My mom never saw that because after he filed that, he then asked my parents to babysit the kids. My mom baked him banana bread, gave him a hug goodbye. So there was nothing truthful about that pleading that he filed, and my mom never saw it.
Why do you think he filed that?
He was really angry at me for leaving him.
Okay, so he didn't really want to limit your mom's visitation with the kids.
No,
and
he
that's
asked for her
evidence.
to babysit after he filed that.
Evidenced by the banana bread.
Evidence by the banana bread. I will say this. Wendi Adelson has a way of making you like her. Does she not, guys? There's just, I don't know if it's the way she speaks or what it is, but she has a way of making you like her. Just an observation here. I keep having to tell myself as I'm watching her and falling for it that she's behind this. She is got to be behind this. She had to have known, or else she would not have told police in her interview about her parents hating Danny, and the stupid joke that Charlie here made. I mean, she wouldn't have fingered these people, her own family. She's throwing her family under the bus and doing it in kind of an ingenious way in order to keep herself out of jail. That's my opinion.
And so she didn't even know about that filing.
She never knew about it.
Okay. And when she laid all those options out in that email to you about other options that you could take to secure the relocation, as far as bribing, remember that? Converting the Christian children to Christianity, remember that suggestion?
I sure do.
Okay. What did she put in there that she viewed as your most non-negotiable and most important part of your divorce?
I don't know. Do you have something I can see?
States Exhibit 57. And it is page 1. Page 1, paragraph 2.
So you want me to read what she said here?
I want you to answer the question. What was the most important part?
Of the divorce for my mom.
Yes.
It says here that for her it was relocation.
All right. And did you have 2 8-hour mediations in your divorce?
We had 2 very long mediations. I don't remember exactly how long they were, but they
Did
felt
they
like a very
result
long
in a
time.
resolution?
No.
Was Mr. Markel seeking to depose your mom as part of the divorce?
I don't remember that.
Do you know if it ever happened?
I don't think it happened. I don't remember it.
Was the prospect of that upsetting to your mom?
I don't think so. I don't remember it, so I don't remember talking with her about it or.
Did your mom call Dan any disparaging names around this time frame?
Well, I just read them in the emails, but I
Okay.
don't remember them independently.
Okay. Did she call him an asshole?
Yes.
A narcissist? A
Yes.
bully?
Yes.
Religious zealot?
Yes.
Bastard?
That I don't remember.
Page 5.
Okay. Is it page 5 from the first email?
Yes, if you'll just go through by the physical pages.
I see. Yes.
I'm sorry, what was your answer?
Yes.
Fucker?
Yes.
You find that funny, evidently.
But in all the filings made on your behalf by the different lawyers that you had, and all of the emails that your mom sent, he was never described as abusive.
I mean, he was described as emotionally abusive. Yes.
Can you show me where he was described as emotionally abusive in any of those items?
Well, not by my mom, but in the pleadings.
Okay, show me that.
It's going to take me a while to find it.
Okay, well, it's
You want me to-
not in there, but you can get back to me
Well,
with it.
it is in there.
Objection, Your Honor. The comment, she's not testifying.
Hold on, please approve.
So would you have to review the whole file in order to find that, or could you give us a starting point of which filing it might be located in?
It might be under the petition to relocate. It might be under the initial divorce proceedings.
Okay.
It wouldn't be in emails from my mom, but it would take a while to find it. It might be in the depositions.
Okay, did you view yourself as being stuck here in Tallahassee once the relocation was denied?
I didn't. I mean, I had a really nice life here. I did not view myself as being stuck.
Would you please turn to page 176 in that exhibit in front of you? I think it's highlighted for you.
Are you believing her, guys?
Did you describe yourself in that filing as being stuck in Tallahassee?
I don't see it. You said it was highlighted, but there's nothing highlighted.
Okay, 176. My page.
I didn't highlight it for you. Okay.
Just a moment.
That lady really walks hard, does she not? You can hear her thumps, can you?
I see the word stuck. I found it.
Okay. So did you describe, at least in one occasion, being stuck in Tallahassee?
No, can I read the sentence?
Sure.
So it says, the husband has made it difficult for the wife with her colleagues at her current position due to his statements and actions. And the husband's intent is to relocate to a larger area at some point. So the wife is merely stuck in Tallahassee until the husband decides that the time is right for him to leave.
All right.
Meaning-
And had he accepted a job anywhere else by the time that he was murdered?
No, he hadn't yet been offered a job, but he was always looking.
Okay. So he was just going to move and just.
Okay, so I will say that this prosecutor was manipulating the word stuck, right? Because when you read the sentence, when Wendi read the sentence, it didn't come across the way the prosecutor was making it come across, right? So it's kind of important to pick out those things, guys, because you have, in order to know the truth, you have to know the context of what was said. You can't just pick out a word, right, and say, did you feel stuck? That's not what that said. Not at all.
Let you have the kids at that point?
He probably would have done what I did, which is have a conversation and see if it was a place that made sense for both of us to live.
And would you have moved to wherever he got a great job and started a new life there?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. Did you like Tallahassee?
I did.
And you said, I think you did say this, but let me clarify. Was your mom aware of the order denying relocation?
My mom was aware of the order denying
And
relocation.
what about your brother, Charlie? Was he aware of that as well?
I'm sure my mom would have said something to him.
All right. So did your mom suggest any ways that you might coerce Dan Markell to let you move with the kids to South Florida?
Yes, I think we talked about that before.
We did. And for this, I'm referring back to those emails. And in particular,
She's very smart, guys.
the bribe.
Wendi, I'm
So another bribe to get him to allow relocation. I'm on page 5 of the first email for the defense. Another bribe to get him to allow relocation should be the offer of plane tickets so that he can fly back and forth, right? So you're going to potentially offer this big monetary benefit that would allow him to fly back and forth to work. Is that the idea?
I never said that I was going to do any of that.
Okay, was that the idea that your mom had?
That was the idea.
All right, and the amount of the bribe is going to be, or was at least discussed as being $1 million. Is that right?
That is what they said.
Okay, and did you agree with that?
No.
Would that have worked?
I have no idea if it would have worked, but
You think he might have taken $1 million to let his kids go?
well, he wasn't letting his kids go. He would have moved to South Florida and he would have commuted back and forth to his job. So maybe,
Well, then why wasn't it offered?
because I didn't want to do it.
All right, what about the idea that you could try to threaten Dan to convert the kids to Christianity so that they can fit into the Bible Belt here in Tallahassee? Is that something your mom suggested in these emails?
My mom did suggest that.
Okay, and specifically, this is on page 7 of the exhibit. Let Jibbers know that your children will be baptized in the Catholic Church. Have a picture made of them in front of the church, all that kind of thing. That's what your mom suggested at one time.
She did, yes.
Okay, and did you do any of those things?
No, I don't even think I responded to it.
Do you know whether the defendant, your brother Charlie, was supportive of the plan to convert them or pose as converting them to Christianity?
I have no idea. I don't think he was particularly involved in this round of my mom's
On
emails.
page 11 of the exhibit, there's an indication from your mom that Charlie at least has discussed this with her and maybe is somewhat supportive. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done, and they did what they needed to do to accomplish it. You have a job to get done in a very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance that would show Gibbers that he's, all caps and bold, not in control. So it just seems like your mom was pretty extreme about this situation of getting you relocated. Can you agree with that?
Yeah.
All right. And Charlie was at least consulted on it or had offered some information about it.
Okay, so even Charlie's kind of laughing here, right? And to me, it does seem like Donna Adelson is a little bit over the top. What do you guys think? I mean, getting your children baptized in. Now remember, the Adelson family is Jewish too, just like Dan Markel was. Okay. But just to make him angry, she wanted Wendi to get them baptized in the Catholic Church and to, take pictures of them in front of the church, dress them up like Hitler. Come on. Is she out there? We're going to find out in her trial, aren't we? And it sounds to me, so far, as though Wendi ignored her mother a lot when things didn't make sense coming from her mother's mouth. That's my thought. Okay. I'm not saying she didn't know about this. I'm not saying any of that, but I am saying it does sound like she thought, and I think even Charlie thought, from the way that he's reacting to some of this, that they both thought their mother was over the top with some of this, right? Doesn't mean that they didn't do something or follow her in some respects, but yeah, Donna was a little bit cuckoo, in my opinion. We'll find out come June.
Well, that was my mom's rendition, so I don't know if that's what actually happened or that was her perception.
Sure. Were you involved in the effort to consult a lawyer about the bribe and whether that was going to be legal?
I wasn't the lawyer consulted in that.
No. Were you involved in consulting a lawyer with your mom? Okay. Do you know for sure if any financial offer was or was not made to Dan Markel?
I couldn't say for sure if they made it to Danny without me knowing, but I don't think so.
Is that something they would do, is try to negotiate with him behind your back or deal with this situation behind your back?
I don't think so. I think I would have known. Danny probably would have told me.
But you definitely didn't extend any of these offers or threats.
No.
When was the divorce final?
This summer of 2013.
All right, I'm going to switch gears for a minute and talk about phone stuff.
So her mom would even maybe go behind her back. How do you live with people like that, with parents like that? I don't know. I don't think I could.
Was your cell phone collected by the police in this case after Dan was shot?
I gave the police my cell phone and asked them to search it if it could be useful.
All right. And around the time of the murder, was your number 954-803-0079?
It was.
And can you agree that the numbers, let me show you an exhibit. 59, I believe. You will. Okay. Well, I want to explain what it is. Okay. Yeah, so I talked a lot about converting to Christianity, but I didn't mention what religion you are. We talked about Dan being more religious than you are, but we didn't talk about what religion you are. So could you explain that to the jury, please?
Sure. I'm Jewish.
And Dan was as well, right?
And Danny was Jewish as well.
Okay. So I had this exhibit 59. This is not 59. Yes, that's what we did. One moment. All right, you may not be able to do this, but states 59, I've got phone numbers attributed to your family members. Obviously, you don't know the other people. Are those phone numbers accurate, if you know, for the time
Yes.
frame around the murder?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then you are also familiar with the wiretap that was conducted in this case?
Yes.
And did I provide you a disc labeled disc 107, ask you to review some calls and see if you could authenticate the voices on those calls?
Yes.
All right, and for that, I made you a little spreadsheet, which I've marked as 61.
Oh my
And
gosh.
were you able to
walked
initial
Elfie.
by each call, indicating that the highlighted names are the voices of the people they purport to be?
Either that or that
Judge, at this time, I ask
courtroom
you
just
to note that
echoes.
state
I don't know
61.
which.
Any objection?
No objection. No.
State 61 is admitted.
All right, and if we can shift back to, we talked about your divorce being final. Once the divorce was final, weren't there still a lot of filings that went back and forth between both you and Dan Markel?
Yes and no. The divorce was final. We had a final settlement agreement. The agreement was I take my name off the title to the house. He pays me half the value to the house. So for within the first week, I went and took my name off the title to the house, and I waited until October when he was supposed to get back to me. He never paid me the money. And so I called and I asked what happened. That was the deal. And he said, I have compelling reasons. I'm not going to pay you. And so I made one filing, a motion to enforce the settlement agreement because he didn't do it.
Right, so you believe that he owed you money pursuant to the settlement agreement? And he was
Yes.
in violation of the settlement agreement?
Yes.
And he was of the belief that you had withheld some financial things from your affidavit, and maybe he didn't owe you the money that you had previously agreed on because you had not been honest in the initial disclosures, right?
He accused my attorney of having unclean hands and committing a crime.
Yeah, and assisting you in withholding this money from the
Correct.
disclosures. Okay. All right, so I want to ask you about the motion to enforce marital settlement agreement and hold Dan Markel in contempt of court. That was filed, you may need to refresh your memory, October 31st, 2013. Give you the exhibit 56 and have you take a look at, this is going to be on 338. All right, could you just read the title, the caption of that filing?
Motion to enforce marital settlement agreement and to show cause why the former husband should not be held in contempt of court.
What does it mean to be held in contempt of court?
It means not to be doing what the court has asked you to do.
What can happen to you if you're held in contempt of court?
I don't know, really.
Could you be jailed?
I don't know.
All right. And when was this?
Wait
this was
a
you
minute. If she's a lawyer, she would know that. Come on. Wow.
filing it, right? I mean, you're the client.
Right.
You're asking that he be held in contempt. And
I
you don't know
filed
what
this-
that means?
I mean, at the time I filed, which was 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, refresh your recollection with the
Okay.
document. Goes through 340.
Okay. I have it.
Okay. So what was it you were asking for in this motion?
It was what I just mentioned. So basically, I took my name off the title to the house. He never paid. This was asking him to pay.
Cough up the money or be held in contempt?
Yep.
Okay. And what day was this filed?
This was filed on October 31st, 2013.
All right. So Halloween of 13, and that's the same day that you backed out of the contract to purchase the house in Tallahassee, right?
I don't
You remember
remember what day that was.
Okay. Do you remember that it was your brother, Charlie, that specifically convinced you to back out of that particular house deal?
I don't actually. I don't remember that.
And I think this is difficult because they took Charlie to court 9 years after Dan Markell was unalived. So, Wendy's going back, looking at things because 9 years, it's a long time. I don't know if I could remember things. I'd have to be looking at documents as well.
Approach and see if these text messages refresh your recollection.
Okay.
And you may have to look around for context, but I'm specifically looking at this one.
Okay. Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Honestly, I mean, I can read what's here, but I still don't remember.
Don't
it
really
independently.
remember. And after pulling the plug on the house, there were some emails where you were saying you can't answer the phone, you're crying too hard about the house. Like you seem genuinely upset about pulling the plug on the house, but now you don't remember it?
Well, it's been 10 years.
Sure.
So a lot of terrible things have happened since then. It's hard to remember.
Don't recall.
I really liked the house and was excited about it, but it was more than I can afford at the time. That's what I remember, is talking with the real estate agent and having her say we'd find another house, and it wasn't the right one.
Would you have any reason to dispute that that occurred on Halloween of 2013?
No, it probably did. I just don't remember.
Okay, and then a few months later, on February 14th of 2014, there was another filing. I want to draw your attention to page 379. I'm ask you what that document is.
Do you want me to read the title of the document?
Yes, please.
Former husband's counter motion to enforce marital settlement agreements, financial provisions, and incorporated motion for sanctions.
Do you remember this filing?
I don't remember this filing, but in anticipation of my testimony today, I refreshed and reread it.
Okay, and he accuses you in this filing of breaching the marital settlement agreement in various ways, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and committing a fraud upon the court by omitting the $200,000 in assets from your financial affidavit.
That is
in
what he
there?
was alleging.
And ask the court to sanction you.
Yes, that's what he
And-
said.
Okay, so again, you're both seeking the court to sanction each other. I mean, them's fighting words and lawyer terms, right?
Well, I was filing a motion to enforce a settlement agreement, so I don't think that's really fighting words. That's just asking the court to complete what it already said it wanted to do.
Okay. And on page 379, Dan suggests that the court send us.
She has a nice way of putting it, does she not? A motion is a motion. I mean, come on. If you took your name off the house, right? You took your name off, and then once your name was off, he was supposed to pay you. And he doesn't pay. You're not going to be angry? Of course you are. Right? Because you're looking for that money. She was wanting to buy a new house. Of course she's going to be angry, guys. Now that part, I don't believe her on.
Strong message about your malfeasance by awarding him the entirety of the undisclosed assets of over $200,000, right?
That is what he asked for.
Okay, and then on March 10th of 2014, on page 437, do you respond with your motion to dismiss the former husband's counter motion to enforce the marital settlement agreement that we just talked about?
I'm sorry, what is the page number?
437.
I'm not familiar with this, but do you want me to read through it?
Could you read the caption aloud, please?
Sure. Motion to dismiss the former husband's counter motion to enforce marital settlement agreements, financial provisions, and incorporated motion for sanctions for failure to state a cause of action, and motion to strike as a sham pleading, and motion to strike as redundant, immaterial, impertinent, and scandalous pleading.
And then if you'll go to page 439, do you see a paragraph that begins, the vast majority of the former husband's motion?
Actually, don't see that. On page 439?
Yes, ma'am. I think I have it pulled out.
On number 8.
Yeah, the vast majority of the former husband's motion contains allegations that are redundant, immaterial, impertinent, and scandalous. Yada, yada. He's making false and immaterial statements against you. His pleadings only prove that he is a disgruntled former husband who cannot move past this disillusion. So it's getting personal. Would you agree with that?
My attorney here is responding to his pleading, which was over the top.
And this is over the top, right?
I don't think so, no.
Then 6 days later, Dan files another motion seeking action against your mother. And that's the one we've already touched on. That's page 441. Is that right?
Page 441.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's what we talked about.
Either way, this was a pretty contentious divorce and settlement, right, guys? I mean, whoa. Sounds like both sides were angry.
Okay, former husband's counter motion for enforcement of marital settlement agreement on parenting issues and motion for contempt and sanctions. Here he's alleging, again, more violations of the marital settlement agreement, including communication between he and the boys. He wasn't happy with how much communication was happening, failing to keep him informed of where his kids are, failure to communicate about parenting decisions like the kids' schooling, diet, and extracurricular activities, and refusal to provide him access to the kids on their birthdays. So he's complaining about a lot of things associated with this, not just money stuff, it's parenting stuff too, right?
That's it.
And isn't it in this motion that,
Hold on, this Councilman.
Okay, if that was true and she was keeping his boys away from him on their birthdays, that is so wrong. I hate it when parents do this in a divorce. It's really, really irritates me. There's no excuse to have your children suffer. You cannot put the children in the middle of something like this. It's wrong on so many levels.
yes, sir,
I said that. That's right.
isn't it in this motion that Dan Markell seeks to enjoin you from allowing your mother from spending time with the kids without supervision?
Can you please show me which page that's on?
450. Do you see a paragraph beginning on 3 specific occasions?
Yes, I do.
Could you read that, please?
8A, on 3 specific occasions in November 2013, the children informed Mr. Markell, Abba, Dad, Grandma says you're stupid. When queried as to why Grandma, the maternal grandmother, would say such things, the children replied jointly that it is because she says you are trying to take her sunshines away from her.
And continue, please.
In December 2013,
You don't have to say the name.
Yeah.
Your child.
my child, the younger son, further stated to Mr. Markell in front of the former wife, Abba, Grandma says she hates you. The children were visiting with their grandparents at that time.
Mr. Markell is concerned that continued exposure to such negativity forms a foundation for parental alienation. Is that what he was alleging about your mom?
That is what he is alleging in this document, yes.
And this was filed in court.
He filed this in court.
On what date?
It will be at the front of the document, right?
Yes, ma'am. Page 441.
This was filed on March 26th, 2014.
And this was the filing that never got ruled on, right?
I don't believe there was any ruling on
And
this.
that's because Dan Markell was killed before the hearing, right?
I don't know when it was scheduled for.
It wasn't even scheduled yet.
Okay.
It was waiting to be scheduled when he was killed. Is it fair to say your mom was worried about this motion?
No, my mom never knew about this motion. And as I mentioned before, Danny asked my mom to babysit after filing this motion. So I don't really believe anything that's written here.
Well, you forwarded this motion to your mother
I don't believe I
via
did.
email. In fact, you forwarded this motion to 12 different people. Your mom, Jeffrey Lacoste, Renee Griggs, Tova Walsh, Morgan Honeycutt,
Ooh.
Gary Cohen, Miguel Edmondson, Trey Hubler, Robert Adelson, Rachel Frank, Jared Reich, and some MEHULNYC at yahoo.com. So if you weren't worried about this, why'd you send it to all these people?
I couldn't really say. It's been a long time.
And then a couple days later, we know what happened.
So this was in March. So a couple days, I sent it to people in July when Danny
You
was killed.
you sent it a couple days later.
I sent
That email to 12 different people.
in March.
Yes.
Kappelman, you can resume your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to talk a little bit about your brother.
Sounds like the prosecutor got herself into a little bit of trouble there. And it also sounds like Wendi denied the fact that her youngest son said that to Dan. And I surely hope not, because as a mother, if your mother is saying derogatory things to your child about their father, you need to shut that down. That's wrong. Very wrong on so many levels, right? I can't believe that she didn't know some of this stuff. And I will say, 10 years later, I thought it was 9. She said 10, whatever it may be. You know, I know you're not going to remember some things, but there's been parts of her testimony where I don't believe her. Honestly, I really don't. And we're going to continue to go over her testimony. And the reason that we're doing this is I want us all to get a clear view of who Wendi Adelson is and whether we think that she's going to be the next person arrested. Also, what's going to happen here is we're going to have some kind of an idea as to what Donna Adelson is being charged with and what she was involved with, right? You know, I know that there are checks that were written to the unalive for hire people, Sigfredo, Catherine, and Louis, and they were signed by Donna Adelson. So we know some of what's going to come out. Okay. But yes, we're going to continue on with Wendi's testimony in episode 10 because she was on the stand for a long time, number one. Number two, we really need to, make a determination. Is she guilty? Did she know what was going on? And can we see that? Can we determine that by her testimony? Not only that, it kind of gives us a good look into why Charlie was convicted and whether Donna Adelson will be convicted as well, because a lot is coming out in her testimony about her mother, right? So I want to leave you today with our grannyism. Worse than telling a lie is spending the rest of your life staying true to that lie, right? And, that's kind of what's going on here, right? If Wendi's lying, she's going to have to spend the rest of her life staying true to the lie, or else own up to it, admit it, and take the fall. 10 years later, we're talking these kids they were 3 and 4 when Dan was unalived, 13 and 14, right? These kids are getting older. You got to wonder what they know about all this going on now. What do they know? Do they even remember their dad at this point? They were pretty young. 3 and 4. They were pretty young guys. And this was them. Faces are blurred, but you can tell how cute they were, right? It's amazing. And truth be told, Dan was fighting. He wanted to see his children as much as possible. I don't think Dan wanted the divorce. It was Wendi that wanted the divorce. So, all right, guys. Well, that's all I really have today. We will continue on with episode 10 very, very soon. So stay tuned and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at grannyscrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.